Hello and welcome to another video by NSD. This time around we're going to talk about how to build a strong customer support team for your SaaS. In 2020 alone, 47% of customers admitted to ditching a brand because of poor customer support service. Now that is not a surprise to SaaS leaders like yourself out there, because we all know that in order to maximize user growth, retention, and overall happiness, customer support is something that should be there, and it should be there in the best way possible. However, as always, the different constraints that your team has, mostly financial and time-wise, that limit you in terms of how you can offer and deliver that great customer support service that your users deserve. But sometimes it can also be due to the fact that you don't know exactly where to find the right people and what kind of people to find to make up a strong customer support team. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, and we'll have another video where we'll talk about the best customer support tools, but let's save that for later. Let's first start by focusing on the ways or places in which you can find customer support agents. So one of the crucial things you need to keep in mind first, before you even get to hiring customer support agents, is that you need to be ready to train them. Just keep that in mind, and we'll expand more on that once we look at specific ways in which you can find them. Method number one is outsourcing and freelancers. The key way in which most SaaS tools or startups today are offering customer support services is by outsourcing it or hiring contracted freelancers. So these are people who aren't necessarily employed traditionally. They work very minimal hours and they rely on multiple people doing different shifts to cover sort of like a full span of a day, or make up a decent sized shift or time spent overall as a team per week in order to fulfill all the customer support tickets that come your way. Now, a few places to look at are Helpware, Wow27, AD, Simply Contact, Mindy Support, Bunch, Boulder, Support Your App, Ensured, Peak Support, and many others. But these are the most popular places and platforms where SaaS founders are flocking to find and build their great SaaS teams. Now, when you come to these places, you need to keep in mind that a lot of training has to come in place, especially when there's a bit more disconnect between how engaged and formal the employment of these agents are. So you need to make sure that you're either preparing some kind of great content for them to be trained on, or a holistic maybe series of videos that walk them through the product itself, or if you're one of the larger and more complex products, then you need to definitely try and explore building a knowledge base, at least an internal one that your customer support team can use. And all that is essentially a series of articles that explain different things about your product. You can look at our other video about building knowledge bases or internal knowledge management systems to learn how to execute on that. But yes, so those are the places you can look at when you're trying to find agents to help you support your users. So the reason why you want to outsource or hire freelancers for this is because customer support tickets may fluctuate a lot, and you also do not want to overspend or overcommit to working with somebody when the time that they are being paid for doesn't match up with what's actually needed. And so working with a freelancer that's maybe paid per hour, sometimes you can find agents on Upwork where they have nice hourly contracts that facilitate freelancing relationships. So they can log hours as needed and as needed by your customers, in order to make sure that the cost is very variable and very lean, just focused on delivering the perfect amount of labor to satisfy the customer support queries that are coming your SaaS team's way. Another method or way you can use to find and build a SaaS team is by trying to actually find and hire full-time customer support agents, or customer success managers is what they're typically called and titled nowadays. So you can find a customer support manager or agent on LinkedIn or any other job platform where you can put out a job ad and find an agent in the region that you're interested in, or with the kind of experience that you need. You can find different people who are seasoned in different industries or different kinds of products and volume environments. So if maybe your SaaS tool is a very high volume support ticket tool, and so you'd want somebody who has experience handling that kind of volume, and maybe somebody who has a potential to go on to manage your team as it expands. It all really depends on where you are, what kind of user base you have anyway. Is it 100, 1,000, 100,000, or 1 million? And then again, beyond that, how often do they actually publish queries or push queries to you? And at the end of the day, hiring a full-time agent, the pros of that is really the fact that they are more in-house, and it's a lot easier to actually coach them because they are here for the long run. You probably have more direct contact and are supposed to have more direct and daily contact with them, and so there's more room for them to be trained, and for them to actually go on to master and own the product with very minimal supervision, because they are part of your team and they're being paid to understand how the product works and how it's evolving, and at the same time translate that into a great customer support service that they offer your customers. However, though, when you're starting out and you have a small user base, or as you pace yourself, it may be best for your core team to still do the customer support, because the questions are fairly basic, at least compared to how well all the team members, whether in marketing, developers, or even just product managers, your team knows the product really well, and so there's no question that a customer can ask that you wouldn't be positioned to answer. It just depends on the bandwidth of your team. But that's definitely going to become less and less bandwidth to actually do customer support as your team grows, as your users grow, and as there's more serious effort and funding probably coming your way. So meaning that these people need to do their jobs, and so that's when you want to start looking at contracting a freelancer or hiring somebody full-time. Now that you know where to find customer support agents, let's talk about the kind of customer support agents you need to find, or the values they need to possess. So number one, it's very obvious that they should have strong communication skills, and mostly written communication skills. So your agents need to know how to write in a way that is definitely clear, grammatically correct, because all those things add to giving your customers ease in knowing that this is actually a product with a team that is here and dedicated to helping me navigate the tool, and so I'm not wasting my time. I'm not better off exploring an alternative product because I'm taken care of here. And that is really conveyed fundamentally in how an agent communicates. Are they clear? Are they also fast at responding? So for instance, if somebody asks a complex question and the agent needs to use maybe an internal knowledge base or ask a question elsewhere, or maybe there's a lot of details and technicalities to the answer, right? Are they able to actually type that out and make sense of it really quickly and convey it to the customer? Another value is patience. So a lot of users, whenever they contact your customer support channel, they are definitely not coming there because they're happy. And most of their dissatisfaction can really be diffused by essentially, approaching them with patience, being calm, and knowing that them as an agent are not necessarily, personally involved or offended or should be offended by any kind of way that a customer is choosing to communicate with them. They need to remain patient and calm and just focus on understanding what the customer's pain point is and finding the information that can help them get to an answer or alleviate that pain point. Another thing that I touched on before is speed. So speed is very critical. Somebody needs to be able to communicate clearly, be patient, and have the speed to find information and type it out or convey it to the user. And the speed is a crucial part because the waiting queue especially as your product becomes larger, waiting times become longer, and so a customer would appreciate coming to meet an agent and actually having the issue resolved quicker than their waiting time, because that's always going to be appreciated. And you can use that as the guiding metric, right, as to how to evaluate how quickly and how well your agents are responding to your users. The difference between the waiting time to actually get to an agent versus how long an agent takes to resolve their issue on a typical case. So the next virtue is positivity. To be positive means that, it's a can-do attitude, and no matter what's thrown in front of you, an agent can try and find the best possible answer for the client amidst all maybe the rudeness as well as, the difficulty and technicality of any issue that comes. So even though the product is the same for all the users, they still come with unique problems that you may have never heard framed that way, or with the same facts that the user has. In some cases, there also may be bugs within the software that you're not aware of. So an agent needs to have a mindset of being positive, a mindset of a can-do attitude, an attitude that allows them to look at any situation that's new, presenting unique challenges, and still veer on forward to try and find a solution for the agent. And tech savviness is obviously one that is imperative, because as your SaaS grows, there are probably going to be integrations and different changes that are easier to understand by anybody who's a very well experienced user of different technologies or SaaS tools, so that when integrations come or different changes within the product itself alone occur, then they are also ready to actually quickly understand them, understand their relevance, and at the same time make sure that they're able to quickly fill up and take themselves into understanding a user's perspective because of the tech savviness and how they're well seasoned users of different softwares and SaaS tools. So I guess in different ways we've kind of touched on this one, as I mentioned the earlier points, but resourcefulness is very, very critical to any agent. And that's really the attitude of being able to go out there, find answers, not just on your own, but exhaust all the opportunities of finding information that a user might need at all costs. So if that means reaching out to a supervisor or a product manager, a developer, as long as they have the permission to, an agent really needs to know how to look at all the different options they have to find an answer or relieve an issue, and go out of their way to always exhaust each and every one for every user. The key thing here is making sure that you try and see whether or not an agent is resourceful before you actually hire them. And together with that comes with empathy. Empathy is maybe one of the most important, if not the most important, value on this list. But agent really needs to be able to empathize with the user, understand that that the time and money is precious to them, and the problem they're probably solving with your SaaS tool is very, very important to something they do in their lives, whether business or personal reason. And so when an agent has strong empathy, they're able to really embody and practice consistently all the other values, and overall just deliver great customer support service to your users. Given all those values, I hope you now have all the understanding you need in terms of evaluating and understanding which agent is best for your team, as you look to either hire a freelancer or outsource your customer support services, or hire somebody in-house who will be a lot more full-time than not. Depending on which direction you want to go, you really want to make sure that you vet people for those values. And also, before you choose a direction of outsourcing or freelancer or hiring somebody full-time, really take a look at what your SaaS needs, how fast you're growing, and what you think is in the best interest of having an agent that is actually appropriately informed and always in real time in tune with any changes to your product, so that they can deliver great customer support service. The last thing I'll say is a caution to you, and that is, do not try, and I repeat, do not try to cheat customer support service. If you make it really cheap, you're going to give cheap service, and cheap service means unhappy customers. I encourage you to really try and dedicate as many resources as you can, financially and time-wise, to building a strong customer support team, because it's just as crucial in so many ways as any other aspect of a SaaS company or a SaaS team. With that, I hope and wish all the best for you as you go out there and build your customer support team. And don't forget to come back to this video if you ever need a reminder or a refresher. We also have an article version of this video. Check out our blog on our website. And other than that, all the best.